Welcome to Lesson 13b, Physical Significance of Displacement Thickness. In this lesson, we'll discuss more about the physical significance of displacement thickness, in particular applied to wind tunnel design. I'll derive the equation for displacement thickness, and then I'll look at the effective Reynolds number on velocity profiles for finite-length flat plates. Here's a practical application. If you have a wind tunnel test section, your goal is typically to have a constant speed, but boundary layers build up along the walls of the wind tunnel test section, and because of displacement thickness effects, the wall is effectively thicker, if this red line is the displacement thickness, by that amount, so the speed will increase as you go downstream. A practical way to avoid this is to slightly diverge the test section walls, and I'm exaggerating here, but if this is your displacement thickness, the net result will be a constant U throughout the test section. I show figures in my undergraduate textbook with greatly exaggerated boundary layer thicknesses to illustrate this. As the boundary layers grow, the core flow has to increase in speed because of the lack of mass flow rate within the boundary layers. If this blue region represents delta star, a frictionless approximation would still have to have a slight overshoot near the wall because of the pressure gradient and an increase in capital U as we go downstream. If you diverge the test section walls, as shown here where this is the actual new wall, it's diverged from the horizontal. The real flow will look something like this, where the boundary layers still don't carry their fair share of the flow, but because the walls diverge, the core flow, if you do it right, remains constant speed. Here's the same thing with the idealized frictionless case, where we pretend that the wall has a thickness of delta star, so the effective wall is flat and capital U is constant. By the way, this worked quite well when I did research on far wakes. I had to have a long test section with a constant speed flow, and diverging the walls due to displacement thickness effects helped us maintain that constant speed.
Sir, how did you diverge the walls? Wasn't the geometry complicated to build?
Well, Jack, actually we diverged only the bottom wall of the test section, and we used slots instead of holes for the bolts, so we could adjust the bottom wall height. So if this is the bottom wall, we cut out slots every so often where the bolts would attach to the wall, with big washers, of course, and that way we could adjust the bottom wall up and down.
That's pretty clever, sir.
Thanks, Jack. It's just nuts and bolts engineering. Now let's derive the equation for displacement thickness. You may recall back in Lesson 4a, we did a control volume analysis of a flat plate boundary layer with a uniform stream at the left, the plate starting here, and then at some x location, we analyzed this profile up to y equal h2, where the upper boundary of the control volume was actually a streamline. This streamline veers up due to displacement effects as we've been discussing, and this is delta. If you recall, one of our definitions of delta star is how far streamlines outside the boundary layer displace upward. In this case, if a streamline starts at h1, which horizontally would be here, and the streamline displaces to h2, this location, by definition, delta star at this x location is just the difference between h2 and h1. I also point out that since the flow between these two streamlines, the upper one and the wall, must have the same volume flow rate or mass flow rate between inlet and outlet, the loss of mass flow rate in the boundary layer is made up by pushing this streamline upward, and we have some free stream flow up there that we don't have here. I redrew the boundary layer at position X here, and let's define this blue area as the mass flow deficit, in other words the loss of mass flow due to the boundary layer, which is made up by this higher y value of h2 compared to h1, which as we said is delta star. So the two blue areas must be equal. Since the deficit here is capital U minus U, it's the amount of mass flow rate or volume flow rate that you're losing, and then gaining that up here by moving out the streamline. Well, let's equate these areas. The top blue area is just U times delta star, and the bottom area is the integral from 0 to infinity of capital U minus little u dy. That's the deficit velocity here. capital U minus U. Well, let's equate these. Dividing by U, we get our equation for delta star as the integral from 0 to infinity of capital U over capital U, or 1, minus little u over capital U dy. This is our equation for displacement thickness in a boundary layer. And even though we've derived this for a flat plate, this equation is valid for any boundary layer. It's how we define displacement thickness. Here's an alternate derivation of delta star. If you recall from our control volume analysis of lesson 4a, we had h1 equal integral 0 to h2 of u over u dy. This equation was derived by conservation of mass analysis. But we know that delta star is h2 minus h1, which can be rewritten with the integral. But let's split this integral into two parts. We integrate from 0 to h1, and then we integrate the rest from h1 to h2. But u over u is 1 in the region between h1 and h2, as we see up here in our diagram, since we're above the boundary layer. So this integral becomes simply h2 minus h1, and our equation is rewritten as shown here. While the h2's cancel, and let's do a little tricky thing with this h1, we'll write it as integral 0 to h1 dy. Thus delta star is the integral from 0 to h1 dy minus, from this term, integral from 0 to h1 u over u dy, or delta star is integral from 0 to h1, 1 minus u over u dy. But we can let h1 go to infinity, since again everything above h1 has u equal capital U and therefore does not contribute anything further to the integral. So delta star is the integral from 0 to infinity of 1 minus u over u dy. This is the same equation that we derived previously, but in a different way. Finally, let's look at the effect of Reynolds number on finite-length flat plates. The Blasius solution is for infinite plates, but if we have a plate of length L, the Blasius solution does not hold, although it may be a good approximation for parts of the flow. For each of these cases, I show velocity vector plots and then streamlines. And we define Re sub L as u, the free stream velocity, times L, the length of the plate, over nu. The first case has REL of 1 times 10 to the minus 1, or 0.1. This is creeping flow, and I should point out that these are not boundary layer solutions. They are full Navier-Stokes solutions using CFD. Some of the features that we discussed previously for creeping flow are apparent here. For example, symmetry fore and aft, and the fact that this object influences the flow very far away. Notice how the velocity vectors point down, then flat, and then up on this bottom portion, and the streamlines do the same. You can't really call this a boundary layer, but it's an extremely thick variation from the no-slip condition to the free stream. Now let's keep increasing Reynolds number. When Reynolds number is 10, it's still not big enough to be considered a boundary layer, but it's not creeping flow either, and the overall solution looks similar to the previous case, but the influence of the plate is not as far away, and it's not symmetric fore and aft. Again, you can't really call this a boundary layer, but if you do, it's a very thick boundary layer. Now let's go to a Reynolds number of 1,000. Here we see an influence of the plate only for a limited distance from the plate, and these are starting to look very much like boundary layers. If you look closely, you'll see a slight overshoot in the velocity due to the displacement thickness effect. In other words, though we're modeling an infinitesimally thin plate here, the displacement effect makes the plate appear thicker, and the outer flow compensates by overshooting a slight amount. Finally, at 100,000, we have almost a textbook case of a very thin boundary layer, where the streamlines are practically parallel everywhere. You can see a very thin boundary layer if you look closely here. You can also see a slight overshoot due to displacement thickness effects. For this case, the Blasius solution matches this fairly accurately. This Reynolds number, by the way, is about the upper limit for laminar flow. When Reynolds number gets higher than this, you'll start to get transition to turbulence. Also in my textbook, I plotted the velocity profiles at x equal L for several Reynolds number cases. the ones I showed previously, but I solved for intermediate Reynolds numbers as well. You can clearly see the overshoot, which is due to displacement thickness effects. The maximum overshoot is for my case of Reynolds number of 100, where the overshoot is approximately 5%. For very low Reynolds numbers, there's no overshoot because it's creeping flow. Then the overshoot grows with Reynolds number till this maximum, and then at very high Reynolds numbers, it almost disappears again. I note that this is a log scale for y, so the profiles here look a little funny as they approach the no slip condition at the wall, because we never get to 0 on a log scale. This case of Reynolds number 100 is an interesting one. It's too big to be creeping flow, but it's too small to be a boundary layer. And when we solve with the Navier-Stokes code, we see a maximum overshoot at this Reynolds number of about 100. Finally, in another figure from my textbook, I carefully plotted streamlines with an exaggerated boundary layer thickness that all these streamlines eventually cross delta. If I also sketch delta star, which as we said previously is about 1/3 the thickness of delta, all the streamlines eventually pass through that as well. So neither delta nor delta star are streamlines. And the streamlines in fact cross these curves of delta and delta star. Also note that even though this is a greatly exaggerated vertical scale, the v component of velocity is still quite small compared to the x component. These streamlines veer upward ever so slightly, as you can see in this figure.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos.
1, 2, 3.